Welcome to Destination Staffordshire's Advanced Facebook webinar. The Advanced Facebook webinar is in 3 parts, and this is part 3. And in the first 2 parts, we discussed optimizing your Facebook page and your group, and making sure that it really holds the hand of your audience through their customer journey to increase your business footfall and to improve and get a better engaged and loyal audience that's in relationship with your business. We also, in part 2, then talked about using some advanced content ideas to build audience, to really build that relationship and to build in better and good professionality into your business to ensure that you are able to build audience over time. So in this part 3, we're going to discuss the basics of Facebook advertising. It's really important to note from the beginning that Facebook advertising is hugely powerful and gives you great return on your investment if you do it well and do it right. But it's also worth knowing that content is king in Facebook. You will remember, for those of you who've listened to the fundamentals of Facebook, that Mark Zuckerberg set up Facebook to connect everyone in the world is his mission. And that is about connecting humans, and that is about creating connections and human connections. And so, although some of you might feel cynical about Facebook advertising, and we've all experienced that situation where we've searched for a blue jacket on the internet and then hopped on to Facebook only to find that we've got lots of adverts down the right hand side tempting us with lots of different blue jackets from different businesses. We know that Facebook's advertising capabilities are sophisticated and huge, and we also hear lots of negative stories in the news about how that advertising influences things. It's also true to say, for a small business owner, that Facebook does know its audience exceptionally well. But it also requires you to up your game and to know what content is right for what audience type. So what I would say first, for any of you who've hopped straight onto this webinar about Facebook advertising and not seen part 2 about content and not seen part 1 about optimizing your Facebook page, I think it would be worth heading back to part 1 and 2 in order that you really get the most out of the basics of Facebook advertising in this part 3. So let's start right from the beginning. The most important thing is to get clear on your desired ROI, return on investment. It's really important in small businesses that you understand absolutely what you are trying, which message you're trying to get to which part of your audience. We have already mentioned that marketing is simply the right message to the right people at the right time, and it could not be more important when we talk about Facebook advertising. So when I say get clear on your ROI, I mean be very specific about the outcome that you want. For example, if you are wanting to advertise your business in general, we have a holiday cottage, it's really nice, come here. And then you attempt to place that as a simple advert to a general audience. The money that you are likely to have to spend on that will mean the results won't be forthcoming, and it may not give you the results that you desire. When using Facebook, being specific and refined works best. So the alternative to to a general advert across a general audience is perhaps thinking about one aspect of your holiday cottage, if that's what you have. So let's say there are fantastic walks from the door, and many of your customers or guests like to come and they like to go on those particular walks. So an advert might be better to have a piece of content which is about the walks, maybe some video. Don't forget, the content has to be good. Maybe some video of that walk, maybe a video testimonial from somebody who's enjoyed that walk, a photo of the view at the end of that walk or the pint at the end of that walk. And then advertising that particular element of your business to a particular group that you specify within Facebook. And the capabilities that Facebook have for you to access small sections of your particular audience is really powerful and useful. This really will avoid time wasting and avoid wasting money, more importantly. So it's really important to plan in your Facebook advertising as part of your wider content plan. In part 2, we talked about how to create a content plan and a content diary. Within that, set a budget for 6 months or set your budget for a year on advertising, because again, it's super easy to get carried away on Facebook and spend a little bit much, or just throw another 25 quid at it and hope for the best. The thing is, over the year, those 25 quids, 50 quids will add up to potentially a large amount of advertising money that hasn't got you the return on investment that you asked for or wanted. So within that content plan, then start to divide that budget up and think about the areas that you might like to really add some power to the content you are putting out on Facebook by adding some advertising budget to it. And once you have that, then you are able to contain the budget, but you're also able to really drill down on the specific audience sectors and the specific messages you have for that audience sector at that particular time of your wider content, so that you maximize the return on investment. So for example, if you have an event that's coming up at your place, you have planned in lots of amazing content to tempt people to buy tickets, and then you decide within that particular campaign you're going to do some Facebook advertising as part of that, then it makes sense then that not only will you be focused in on the correct audience for that event who might be most interested in the right locations, but also that you will have perfected the perfect piece of content to go with that advert, so that as and when they are seeing your organic content, that is non-advertised content on Facebook, they may be seeing a blog, they may have received an email from you, they may have had somebody mention that event to you, and then they see the advert too. You see how that lovely 3D picture really helps reinforce the message to your audience. And that will make that piece of advertising more valuable and more likely to convert to what you want, in this case, ticket sales. So matching messages to audience is absolutely key. And if at any point you feel that you want to just do some general advertising to your general audience, stop and start to break that down to specific messages, to specific sections of your audience. We've already mentioned that defining budget is key. For those of you who've tried a little bit of Facebook advertising and may not have got the results that you were hoping for, or for those of you who are yet to ever try it, when you head on to Facebook advertising, you get to set your budget. You get to set the audience, you get to set the content, i.e. what pictures or videos and images go with that advert, and you get to set what the key messages are and the type of advert that is, which we will talk about in a minute. But also, when you set the budget, sometimes Facebook will ask you, what would you like your overall budget for this campaign to be? So you might say, I'm going to spend £20 over a 5-day period. And you know that £20 is capped and you won't spend any more. Sometimes it's a daily budget. So be careful when you look at that, when you're setting the money that you're going to spend on the advert, which it is, because it's very easy to say, oh, I'm going to spend a £20 total budget, but in fact what you've set is a £20 daily budget for 5 days. So that's just something to be really aware of. Talking about timing, when you're defining your budget, when you're starting out on Facebook advertising, it's really worth containing the length of the advert to start with. If you set an advert to go out for the next 6 weeks, but it's the first time you've advertised, or it's the first time you've used this piece of content with that particular audience, you could potentially be spending money over a period of 6 weeks and you've misfired, and it's not going to give you the return on investment that you most wanted. So it's really important to start small amounts of budget, specific audience with a specific piece of content, assess how that's gone, and then move on to extend that. You could re-advertise and extend the time if it had gone well, or you could tweak it and change the image, but then send the same message in the same audience, that advert, because the image is different, to see if that helps. It's really important to try, refine, refresh, and retry when you're doing Facebook advertising. So we've already mentioned the relationship between organic and advertised content. So organic content is the general content that you put on Facebook at any one time, and advertised content is as it is. It's really important that your organic content is of the same quality as your advertised content, and that it's also recognizable to be from the same Facebook page. It's really important that your organic content at any particular time kind of matches the adverts that people are seeing as well, because that then continues the content theme and diary and strategy that we talked about in part 2. What you don't want to be doing is doing lots of lovely organic content, for example, around an event on your page, but you've currently got an advert running about booking Christmas dinner, because it will be potentially confusing. It's important, especially for small businesses, to ensure that you have got the same kinds of good quality content, but what you're doing is you're kind of boosting the organic content by having some of it as advertised content. And there is evidence to show that when you place adverts on Facebook, that it does give you kickback and a boosted organic audience beyond the life of the actual advert. So you will get some residual boost in general to your page if you have had a successful advert after the advert's finished in an organic way. But it's so important to remember that content is king. If you, as has already been mentioned in previous webinars about Facebook fundamentals and in part 2, that Mark Zuckerberg is really keen that Facebook connects everybody in the world, it's really important that your content is of top quality. If you aren't getting much success on your Facebook page and you think advertising is for you as a way of boosting your page in general or your audience, or if you think, Facebook says it's free, but really the only way to get success on Facebook is to advertise, then it's a content problem. It's not an advertising problem. It's really important that the content is of good quality and engaging on its own before you spend money on it. Because if that piece of content wouldn't get engagement on its own, then advertising with it still won't get you the results that you are hoping for. So in that sense, as part of your general content planning and your advertising, when is it good to advertise and when is it good to be organic? Well, that partly depends on your budget, and also it depends on where you are in your content diary and how important certain events or parts of the year are to you. So if you launch your wedding diary for the next 2 years at the beginning of January, after people have got engaged at Christmas, and that's a big moment for your business, then by all means your advertising will go up. But it is important to remember that if that content wouldn't be successful organically, it won't always be successful in an advertising sense either. So it's really important to build your organic content first before you start advertising to ensure that you're going to get the best ROI. There are lots of different Facebook advertising options, and they change all the time. And before we move ahead, it's important to note that there are several options for advertising on Facebook. The two that are most important for small business is the ability to promote, and Facebook will call it promotion as opposed to advertising, to promote your business from your business page, which you can do directly, and it will give you options. But for those of you who then get a little bit more sophisticated, or you start to advertise quite a few different things at the same time to run in tandem, for example, then heading over to Ads Manager is probably the best place for you. So on Ad Manager, which you access from your page underneath the promote button, on Ad Manager you can see and run several adverts all at the same time, and you will have one platform interface for you to manage that. So for example, it will give you a front table where it will let you know which adverts are currently running, how much each of those adverts have spent at any one time, what your click-through rate is for those adverts, what the results are, how much longer you've got to run on them. And it gives you the opportunity to pause adverts if they're not going so well, or to extend adverts if they've been particularly successful. So it's really important to understand where you would like to set up your ads from. For some businesses, using that Ads Manager interface is what suits them. They like diagrams and tables, and it's all in one place, so that's great. But if you're starting out, promoting from the page is fine. It will give you enough to get started with. It's worth noting too that once you go on to Ad Manager, then you can start to build in more sophisticated advertising opportunities. We already talked at the beginning of this webinar about the blue jacket scenario, where you were searching for a blue jacket on the internet, and then lo and behold, a blue jacket advert comes up on Facebook. So they use lots and lots of complicated algorithms and access lots of information in order to be able to advertise the things that they think you want. But one of the key ways is that they use lookalike audiences. Lookalike audiences are ways, is a feature or a facility that Facebook give you to add what's called the Facebook pixel onto your website, for example. So say, let's talk about blue jackets, because that's what we started with. So say you had a Facebook pixel, a bit of coding, HTML coding that's on your blue jacket page of your website, and you know that you got 100 people visiting the blue jacket page. And because Facebook was watching who those people were from their IP addresses, then you can then say to Facebook in your Ad Manager area, I had 100 people look at blue jackets and I got 20 sales. I'd like you to find me another 100 people on Facebook that look the same as the people who have already visited my blue jacket page, and I'd like you to find them on Facebook, and then I'd like you to advertise that blue jacket page to them too, because I think that they're likely to want that blue jacket. And Facebook will do that because they understand who those people were on the IP, with the IP addresses that came onto your website. Maybe a good proportion of them are already on Facebook. We've already talked about the universality of the audience on Facebook. And then they will go and find similar people, similar age, similar interests, similar locations within the country, etc. But we're not going to start there. It was worth mentioning that because it gives you an understanding of where you can go to with Facebook advertising. But let's start with the basics. Let's imagine, and I would, it's also important to mention here that Facebook advertising is best done again from your desktop. Your Facebook app will let you do certain bits, but it won't give you the bigger picture, and it might well be a good idea to start on your desktop. So if you go to your Facebook page, down on the left-hand side is a blue promote button. Click that and immediately it will give you lots of different things that you're trying to achieve. So the first question it will ask you is, what do you want to happen as a result of this advertising? One of them is to boost a post. Now, boosting a post is really putting some cash behind an existing piece of content and pushing it a little bit further and a little bit harder to the audience that you have specified. There was a lot of talk last year about how boosting no longer works on Facebook because of the algorithm change. In fact, what's happened is the algorithm change insisted that we produce better, more engaging content that connected everyone in the world. And previously, lots of small businesses used boosting as a way of chucking a bit of cash at a piece of content that wasn't doing so well. If that piece of content, as I've already repeated, doesn't do well on its own, then throwing money at it won't make it go any better, and therefore has a reputation for not working. However, if, for example, you're a business that wins a big award one evening and you want to share a piece of content saying, yay, we won, we're super excited, this is big news, boosting that piece of content, which you know will already be hugely well received and engaged with, might just give you the extra oomph that you would like to get, so that you get that maximum coverage out of that particular piece of content. So when you're choosing to boost for a short amount of time. Don't be greedy, a couple of days at the most. Spend a smaller amount of budget, because boosting isn't always the best option for advertising. And make sure that it is a piece of content that would fly on its own anyway. So that covers boosting. Let's head over to promoting different features. So it will give you option when you press the promote button. And this webinar, this is the information at the time of recording this webinar, but as has been said in previous webinars, stay ahead of the game with Facebook. They are always adding in new opportunities. They're very innovative and they give you lots of ideas. So this may well change. But in general, they will give you the opportunity to promote different features that you have on your page. So for example, do you want to promote your call to action button? Your blue call to action button. So if, for example, your call to action button is book now, and you are an accommodation or you run events, then you might feel that your business requires that extra little bit of oomph and you would like to advertise that book now button more readily. Again, if you're doing that on a page that's not optimized with content that isn't engaging, then this money will be wasted. So it's important that you are still very, very conscious of the content you're sharing, the audience you're sharing it to, very specifically, for a very specific limited amount of time, in order that they will already be halfway along that journey before they click that book now, even if it's been promoted to them. So it's really important to have that in mind. But it will give you the opportunity to promote your call to action button. It will give you the opportunity to promote events. So if you're trying to sell tickets, you're trying to get footfall, then again, make sure that you are choosing the audience that fits best to that event. Don't send it out to your generalized audience. And it's worth mentioning here, if you use Ad Manager, you can set up a series of different regular audiences that you advertise to. So you might have a core audience, you might have a retired couples audience, you might have your London audience, you might have your family days out audience within your business. And so if those audiences are pre-set up and then you hop onto your page to just quickly set up a bit of an advert for that particular event, those preset audiences will be sat in there. So you won't need to set every single aspect of that audience every time you want to advertise. It will be in there. Be warned, always look and refresh and refine these audiences. So if you set an audience, don't sit with it for 6 months and just keep using the same old audience, because things can change. So don't just leave that to stagnate, that audience. Make sure you are refining, but it does make for ease of everyday advertising. It will also give you the opportunity to promote your messaging service. So if, for example, you are trying to encourage more messaging from your Facebook page because you've discovered recently that that produces better results in booking, then by all means boost that messaging facility on your Facebook page. It will also give you the opportunity to gain more leads or build audience. So they have a lead generation option for advertising. So if you're getting people, you want to get appointments with people, you want to get people just through that first part of your customer buying journey, then that might work for your business. Also building audience. If you are new to Facebook or your business page has previously stagnated a little bit, but you've followed webinar 1 and 2 and you've upped your game, optimized your page, you're now promoting better content, you're now posting better content, then why not build your audience and spend a little bit of advertising money to get more fans to your page, to build your general audience. Again, some businesses have a almost permanent budget sitting there, and Facebook will ask you if you want to do this, to be all the time paying to get more likes on your page. That is a valid and legitimate thing to do on your business page. But again, if you're not posting good quality content on that page, or it's not optimized, then those likes that you paid for will quickly disappear again because you won't be able to maintain them. Facebook have recently launched new automated ads. So for those of you who are beginners, they are looking at your audience for you, they're looking at your page and your types of content, and they are then going to suggest ideal ads. That's great, it's easy and it's an option for you, but again, if your page isn't optimized and the content isn't great, then Facebook might get the wrong idea about what you're trying to advertise and may well misfire. So if you are going to choose automated ads, keep an eye on it. And as I've mentioned previously in lots of webinars, analysis is key. So as you start your advertising journey with Facebook, not only, especially on Ads Manager, will it give you the response rate of that advert, so it will give you the results. They will message you the results within your Facebook desktop app as well. So you'll get to see, yeah, I paid £20 over a 3-day period and I got 10 click-throughs and I know I got 3 new bookings. That is the ROI. That is the result on your return on your investment. But it might also be worth noting that within your ad manager or within your general insights within Facebook, you get to start to look at a wider overall picture about how advertising is supporting your page as a whole. So if you have placed several adverts in and amongst your content, then as part of your insights, you'll be able to see how much of that piece of content got organic reach and how much got paid. And it will help you understand whether it was actually worth paying for that piece of content to be advertised, or whether that piece of content would have done well by itself anyway. And it will help you refine which bits of content are worth paying for. So thank you for listening to this third part of our Advanced Facebook webinar, and thank you for watching and talking about advertising on Facebook. I hope the journey is good. Good luck. And let's just conclude that, again, you are in for the long game. Keep your goals at the forefront always. Refine your audience and refine your message again and again. Analyze everything and stay ahead of Facebook. Keep an eye out on what its new innovations are and new opportunities which are being rolled out all the time, so that you get to maximize the opportunities you have on the Facebook page. Thank you.